say it again, Boston. Anything's possible. Banner number 18 has been secured. Brown goes inside. Oh, what a slam from Jaylen Brown. Oh, Pritchard banks in the three at the buzzer. Great in and out dribble. Oh, he set off the smoke detector.
What's up, everyone? Welcome into your Celtic Source. About 30 minutes here or so before tip-off between the Oklahoma City Thunder, Indiana Pacers, Game 1 of the NBA Finals. And, I'm going to get into all the ways that maybe, Indiana can keep this close, right? I mean, OKC is a huge favorite, right? Minus 700 for the series, minus 9.5 for just this game alone. At home, right? And so, it's going to be hard for the Pacers to get consistent offense and to be able to stop SGA and Jalen Williams. But, there are three keys, I think, to the Pacers pulling up an upset here. And we'll get into all of that. But, I want to start with just a couple more thoughts on, the biggest news, I would say, around these finals because – obviously, you don't have two big market teams in these finals. And so this week with, a full gap here or like a full week in between when the last game happened and when the finals actually start, right? We've had some big news in New York City, right? Tom Thibodeau getting fired. And I did a full, live reaction, sort of instant reaction right after that trade, where I just gave my initial thoughts on whether I thought this was a good idea or not. And, I came to the conclusion that, it's going to be hard to find a guy that is uniquely different than the way Tom Thibodeau coaches, but is still a top coach in this league, right? Michael Malone, which I talked about when I did that reaction, is the same type of coach. Right, he plays heavy minutes for his starters. He likes the veteran guys over the young guys, right? And that's hard to. New York wants something different, especially after Tom Thibodeau, because why would you hire a guy that's just going to do the same thing, right? And I was thinking about maybe you trade Karl-Anthony Towns, and you're wondering what do you get for him? It's going to be hard to, especially with Tom Thibodeau, it's hard to win when your two best players are defensive liabilities. You can't coach that. If you're attacked on every possession, there's not much you can do. So, I don't know if that was, what, the defense could not have been the reason why Tibbs was fired. I'll just say that. But if you trade away Cat, are you going for a guy like Giannis, right? And that brought up a interesting point that, Jason Kidd over in Dallas, right? He's under contract. But he coached Giannis before they won the championship back in 2014-15. Right? He coached Giannis. He got fired from Milwaukee. Giannis wanted to bring him back actually, and Tibbs was like, "No, it's okay." So Giannis loved him, and would Jason Kidd opt out of a trade of a coaching job in Dallas, right? He didn't like the Luka trade, obviously, and you do have one of the, greatest generational talents we think he'll be in Cooper Flag coming up, but you do not. You don't know what this team, the next steps. You don't know when Kyrie's coming back. We don't know if Anthony Davis is going to be able to put up, a season like he did last year this year in the first half, right before he got injured, obviously. But if the Knicks go out and get Giannis, maybe Jason Kidd would opt out to come coach Giannis in New York. So, maybe the Knicks are going down that route because you fire a veteran coach and a coach that what he's going to bring each and every day in Tibbs. You're not doing that if you don't have a plan in mind. And it seems like in New York, at least right now, as far as we haven't heard any other news, right? they don't have a plan in mind for their next head coach, right? Because otherwise, I think we would have heard more rumors about him trying about a coaching role, um, and we haven't heard any of those. So I'm wondering if the Knicks, they don't know what they're gonna do next, right? They're gonna wait. Obviously, you want to coach before the NBA draft at the end of June, um, just so they're aligned with what the GM is doing and what the coaches are doing, right? So like, I'm sure they're gonna get a coach by then, but like, if you're just picking up the best available option, which is probably Michael Malone at this moment, um, I don't see anything else being much different in this series or going forward, right? And it's wide open in the East next year, right? You have the Celtics injured. You are contending with the Pacers and probably the Cavs, to be honest. We'll see what happens with the Sixers. Maybe they'll get healthy again. But, you just have to be good enough to win the Eastern Conference, and you could still be under a top 5 team. You're not even a top 5 team because the West is just that good. But, we'll see. One other thing before we get into this finals preview again, is that, the NBA next season, for the 2026 All-Star game in Los Angeles, they are changing up the format. They are going, once again, they're changing up the format, right? Going to a USA versus the world format, which I think personally is the best option you can go with right now, right? The All-Star game has been a failure for the last many years because of a lack of effort from star players. And we know that, if it's a USA versus the world, you're not gonna. The hope is that you wouldn't, you would put it all on the line, because you don't want to lose that sort of ego, that sort of the patriotism, right, that you have for your own country. So, like, the hope is, guys are gonna actually put in effort, and if it doesn't work, I mean, they might get rid of the All-Star game for good, or All-Star weekend in general for good. But I was looking at what a couple possible rosters would be. Obviously, it would be the top 5 or 6 players in the NBA to start, for each side. But the world, you have SGA and Luca as your 2 guards, and then most of the star talent is of a center caliber, right? You have Giannis, you have Jokic, you have guy like Sabonis, you have Embiid if he gets healthy. Maybe he'll play for US, I don't know. But you really don't have many forwards in the West or for the world. Like, it is mostly mostly centers out there besides, SGA and Luca. So like, I'm wondering how that would work specifically. Like, there might not be quite enough players. I mean, you have Wemby as well, who's also a center. So like, I'm wondering how that will work. So we'll have to wait and see. I mean, it doesn't really matter if you play 2 guards, 3 centers, right? Giannis could play a 4, maybe even 3, probably not, but you have to see. You still have to put in the effort, which, who knows whether guys will put in the effort, even if it's a USA versus the world format. I'm not sure. All right, but yeah, let's get into this game, right? As I mentioned before, -9.5 OKC for the spread. And I think in this series, there's too many factors for it to be a sweep. I think Indiana is going to be able to put up enough of a fight to at least make this competitive, and I would say most of the games. There might be 1 or 2 games here where it's a blowout for OKC, especially if they get their shooting going, which we'll talk about later. But you have to think that, this is going to be at least, somewhat competitive. I don't think it's a big -700. What I think that's one of the largest odds in a while. Maybe even like 20 years. I mean, or no, I think maybe the Cavs Warriors series had a big spread like that. But like still, like the it's gonna be interesting because the Pacers are one of the best offenses in the league and one of the best at not turning the ball over, whereas OKC is one of arguably the best defensive team and they force the most turnovers. So who's gonna win that battle? I think I think we all have OKC winning that battle, but there is still the possibility that, OKC goes cold, right? They don't have great 3-point shooting in general, and that is one of my three key factors that I have, which we'll talk about later, for the Pacers to win a game, right? And it's going to be the same every series, or every game, the same three factors, I would think. But you have, if obviously, I don't think the Pacers going to be able to get that easy offense off of low hanging fruit, like on turnovers and transition, because the Thunder are going to be more aware of those stuff than the Knicks were. But I think the way the Pacers win, we'll go into the three keys to the Pacers winning. Number one is Tyrese Halliburton has to be better. Well, yeah, he has to be better than. Here's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say that SGA is going to be far and away, I think, the best player on the court in every game. But Pascal Siakam and Tyrese Halliburton have to be the second and third best players, right? You cannot have Jalen Williams being better than either Pascal Siakam or Tyrese Halliburton. He has to be fourth, right? You have to be able to, one thing is Pascal Siakam has to put up the numbers, just scoring numbers, raw scoring numbers. He has to do that. He has to try and, not match SGA's numbers completely because that's not going to happen. But can you, if you're a Pascal Siakam, can you score, if let's say SGA scores 35, averages 35 in the series, can you put up 25 at least if you're Pascal Siakam? And that allows Tyrese Halliburton to, obviously he can't have a dud like he's had in the two games this series against, or two games this season against OKC, where he's only scored like 11 points or whatever. You have to put up at least 20s. But can Tyrese Halliburton, and here's the thing, can Tyrese Halliburton, he's going to be doubled on almost every possession. He's going to be off the ball. Can Tyrese Halliburton find a way to force the Pacers to, sort of, or not even force the Pacers? Can he find a way to get back on the ball when he's being doubled, right? He's not going to be able to bring the ball up. Or maybe if he is, he's going to have to pass it up right away, can he get doubled? But can he, once he makes that pass, can he find a way to get back on the ball and get a open shot? Because that's how he's going to have to score. He's not going to score by going one-on-one against an OKC defender. That's just not going to happen. Even if OKC, they're going to, I would say on almost every possession, there might be a primary defender, but they're going to switch every single possession. They're going to double. They're going to send help from the corners. They're going to allow the Pacers to take shots, right? So the Pacers are going to have to be really smart and basically knock down their open shots, because that's one of the one defensive flaw that OKC has is they give up the three, right? They pack the paint hard, and they're really good at closing out to those 3-point shooters, but they let the shot to be taken. So can the Thunder's role players knock down 3-point shots, even if they're contested? That's how they're going to win, because Tyrese Halliburton, you can't have a dud like you've had, but you can't score 30 in the series. It's just not going to happen. I mean, if you score 30 in the series, I think you're winning. You're winning if you're the Pacers. I just don't think the Thunder will even let that be an option. They're going to, make the Pacers win by taking deep and contested 3-point shots. So you just have to knock those down if you're the Pacers to have any chance in this series, right? And then on the other hand, the Pacers defense. The Thunder are not a great 3-point shooting team. And so, can you, if you are, there's two ways to guard a star player in this league, right? You can double a star player and make the other players beat you, right? Or you can say, we're gonna let SGA get his points, but we're not gonna let any of the role players. And I think you have to go with option one. And here's why. SGA is going to score 50 points. And if say, we're gonna let him score his 50 points and just clamp down on the role players, and especially number two option in Jalen Williams, he's gonna do it. He's gonna score so efficiently that it's not gonna matter. You know, he will keep putting up points, and he will do it at an efficient enough manner that it's just like it's not even like you're not even stopping anything, because if you let him, he'll just go score 100 points, and he'll score the entire game's points, um, and it won't matter because he'll do it efficiently enough that it's not hurting their team, right? 50% for the season is just a ridiculous number, especially on mid-range shots, which are, one of the tougher shots. Obviously, three-point shots are tough, but his fadeaway, you know, obviously, uh, he gets to the line a ton, right? That's another thing for the Pacers. You have to stop. You cannot foul him. You have to let him, if he's going to score, just let him score. You have to try and double him. That's why I think you double him, so he doesn't get those opportunities to get fouls, get and ones, right? You take him off the ball, make the OKC players shoot threes, which are not great at, especially if they go double big, right? And I do think that's going to be one of the tougher decisions. I think we could see them start double big with Isaiah Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren. They might switch that quickly, because with Chet Holmgren, you get the offense. Obviously, you get okay 3-point shooting, right? It's not, you can't just leave him open, right? He's a pretty good 3-point shooter. You get the rim production, but you don't get the the one-on-one defense out on a perimeter, right? And with Isaiah Hartenstein, it's sort of the opposite, right? You're getting no 3-point shots, but he's not a great well, yeah, he's a much better one-on-one defender. He's not as great as Chet at protecting the rim. He's still pretty good, but you have to make that decision. I think depending on how they go, they might go with Chet for the shooting, especially if the Pacers are able to do a good job of getting them out of the paint and on the 3-point line. They might go with Isaiah Hartenstein if a guy like Tyrese Halliburton or Pascal Siakam is having their way, which I don't expect to happen. I mean, right? You could throw Lou Dort, you could throw Alex Caruso, you could throw even Jalen Williams, you could throw so many other guys. Can't even off their bench. Wiggins, you could throw every single one of them can guard Tyrese Halliburton. Maybe not Pascal Siakam. He's a much bigger guy. I would go with Isaiah Hartenstein. But maybe when Pascal Siakam's not on the court, you go even no big. Maybe you go small. So that might be an option. I think they'll play around with it, depending if the Pacers can find a way to, get any sort of consistent offense. But yeah, we'll sort of wrap it up here. One more thing is the turnovers, right? Halliburton, he's going to have to find a way to make those risky plays that he makes all the time, right? Especially in that New York series, those, ridiculous passes, the behind the back passes, not even the behind the back passes, but the full cross court passes that traditionally OKC has been great at reading and picking off for just easy transition layups the other way. But if Tyrese Halliburton shrinks up and doesn't attempt those, then it's even easier, because you don't even have to worry about Tyrese Halliburton making plays for others. You just double him, and that you take him out of the game, and you win that game easily. Maybe even a blowout if Tyrese Halliburton can't get any sort of consistent production. So if you're Tyrese Halliburton, you have to find a way to not shrink up in the moment. You have to, accept that they're risky passes against a team like this, and you have to execute them flawlessly so they don't end up in easy turnovers. But yeah, we'll wrap it up here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Obviously, we will be live after the game, right after the final buzzer, reacting to what I predict will be I'm going to say 12-point win. It's 9.5 the spread. I think, given that it's in OKC, we have seen the Pacers come back from ridiculous numbers in the game ones of these playoffs, or ridiculous deficits in game one of these playoffs, right? The 20-point comeback against the Knicks, the 9 points in 9 seconds against the or 9 points in 1 minute against the Cavs and the Knicks as well, right? I don't think that's going to happen because the Thunder are just a little bit smarter and they're not going to, right? Being a much younger team, I don't expect them to shrink up. I really don't expect any of these teams to shrink up, but you never know. So, if the Thunder shrink up, it could be a closer series. I'm still giving the edge, obviously, to the Thunder because we've seen throughout this season, even when they have games where they can't shoot, when they make their 3-point shots, it's a blowout almost every game. When they can't make their 3-point shots, you get the much closer battles where OKC finds a way to sort of edge it out in the final minutes of the fourth quarter, right? So I'm saying this could be a close first half if OKC doesn't have the shooting, and then we could see the Thunder sort of turn it on defensively and pull away in the late stages of the game. But yeah, that's going to do it for this one. As a reminder, I just said, right, reaction after the game, and then obviously throughout the weekend, we will have different highlights and different videos reacting to different points from this series. Obviously, more news around the NBA with, Tom Thibodeau, anything else that happens with coaching changes, player changes. I don't expect much, obviously. Once the finals end, we'll have tons of stuff to cover. It's going to be one of the busiest off seasons this in a long time, I would say. But yeah, obviously, follow on social media. We do have different highlights, reactions, all that stuff, all day, every day. So make sure to check it out there. And until next time, I'm gonna say go Pacers.
It's over. Time to say it again, Boston. Anything's possible. Banner number 18 has been secured.